Recorded live in Balcatta, Western Australia, the hoon capital of the world, this is Talkin' Power.
Gap is what happens when you hold to the floor and crush the man next to you. There's space in between your back bumper and your front bumper. We, in the South, we refer to it as the gap band.
Well, I think, Formula One is for grown-ups.
So, what about the sideways? You've got a race in your own lane. Now he's on the grass, he brings it back. That's a great driving there.
Torque and Power, your motoring and motorsport podcast.
G'day everyone, Nick from the Talk and Power podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 51 is quite a long podcast, but there's good reason for that. The first 15 minutes we give you a blow detailed account of how we went down to the track. It was recorded down the track on the weekend with the BA, so we'll just give you an account of how we went after each pass. That only goes for about 15 minutes, but I urge you to listen to the hour after that. We talked with Anthony Begley about a whole lot of things, not just about his blow-up. I think if you look at what Anthony's done over the years, his story is incredible. His family story is incredible. And he does a lot of work with the Variety Club as well. So we chat all about that. And he also talks about some of the future plans he's got coming up. So we're really looking forward to that. So I urge all of you to tune in to the whole podcast. Maybe listen to it in 20-minute intervals. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, it's Nick and Simon here from the Talk and Power podcast, episode 51. We are at the track. We're live down here at the Perth Motorplex, and the BA Baracus has made its debut in Radials.
When you say we're live,
Yeah,
you're not joking. I'm very much alive after that pass.
So tell us what happened.
Well, first of all, the first run was just a catastrophe. We had a tiny oil leak that probably, we should have just left. The guys tried to fix it, and they fixed it all right. They fixed it, so I got sprayed with all the transmission fluid. So we were in dire straits because we couldn't get any fittings to get it all back together. And I'll be honest with you, I threw in the towel. Perseverance and my guys in particular, Brenton and Gav and Dave. Trev, hey? Who's going off? Oh, hang on a sec.
We have to break.
We'll resume this in a minute.
Brenton has spoken. Okay, so Brenton had to get a message across to Simon, so he's back.
Yeah. If I hadn't have gone, ugly things would have happened to me.
It certainly would have. Hey, so we got up to basically saying the first run, what happened was a bit of an oil leak.
Basically just let them do their burnout. Basically the little bit of a, moistness, let's call it, turned into a gushing river. So I've asked the crew in future not to fix things like that. Anyway, so like I said, Brenton, Dave, Trev, all the guys, Gav, Matt, everyone chipped in. They raced around. George, the whole lot. Yep, they raced around the pits. Scotty, did I miss anyone? Mill.
Yeah, Miliano.
So they've raced around the pits.
I'm just having a look.
And they've got some fittings and hoses and jury rigged this setup that wouldn't leak. And we've gone back out and I said to the guys, look, rather than us try to get this to work with all the, fancy modules and everything, how about we just turn everything off and I drive it with my right foot?
Yeah.
Because I was fairly confident that I could get it to go down the track at some sort of reasonable, elapsed time. So I left just off clean idle. It was about 2,000.
Yeah.
Right, trans brake on, rolled into it. 60 foot was ridiculously slow, like a 140 or something.
It looks slow on the video. Actually, I've watched the video back on that camera. It's pretty ordinary.
Just tried to roll into it. All right, I need to panel beat this. Just 2 secs. So the carbon splitter underneath the front end has torn itself off, and it's smashed into some of the tin work. So we've just got to do some emergency repairs. I'll be back in a moment.
No worries. And they're gone.
And they're gone. It's a hectic pace out here.
It is. It's all happening tonight.
The thing basically was going on the electronics,
Yep.
right? And it smoked the tyres from the start line to the finish line. And once the trans fluid got to the level where there's some holes basically in the floor,
Yep.
it sprayed the back tyres. Car got very crossed up.
Yeah, it did.
It was a lot of fun to drive. But yeah, after that run, I was feeling pretty tired and just worn out. Now I'm running on pure adrenaline, 100% adrenaline.
I think I am as well. To be
Highly recommend it. Anyway, so the boys have rummaged around the pits, got a bit from Zap, a bit from Del Caro, a bit from somewhere else, and jury rigged this thing. Basically, didn't rely on any of the electronics, just drove it off the right foot.
Yep.
I was actually only at wide open throttle for 1.5 seconds of the run.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Right. The data is there.
Yeah.
Most of the run, I had less than 25% throttle on board.
Wow.
And it
Yeah.
still blew the tyres
Yeah.
off. So we've got some work to do with the fall link.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure where we're going to go because I can't drop the top bar any lower.
Yeah, okay.
So, but it went 780, which is not that good. I mean, a lot of these radial guys would be pretty stoked with 780.
Yeah, they would be. 780. Where's the? Oh, I haven't got the time.
But the speed, 209 mile an hour.
Now tell me, is that some? Do we know if that's some sort of record or?
I don't know of any radial cars in Western Australia that have gone that fast. I mean, I can't confirm that, but I was pretty impressed. For the metric millennials out there, there's 330 kilometres an hour.
Yeah.
So you think about that. It was only wide open for 1.5 seconds. Our goal is to run into the fives with this. And I know 780 to 580, that's worlds away. And obviously I'm getting a handle on these tyres, what you got to do, how you got to treat them. I expected them to be pretty sticky, but I think they must rely on how much VHT, glue, in other words, that you put down a track on track preparation. So now what's happened, which is interesting, which I find quite amusing. Anyone that knows me knows that I've been driving for a quarter of a century, and I've driven basically everything you can drive. I haven't driven dragsters yet, but I'm sure when I'm a pensioner, I'll drive a dragster. Right? So unless it's a top fuel one, I'll drive one now if anyone's got a drive for me. But anyway, so, this car I'm very familiar with. People have seen me get it crossed up sideways on numerous occasions, sparks coming off the headers, etc. It came as a shock to me that the track manager actually asked that I do licensing again. So he went to ANDRA, our governing body. So ANDRA being, smart, they basically said, well, we think he just needs a familiarisation pass.
Yeah.
So they want me to do another one. And you know what, Nick? I'm not complaining. I'm hanging out to get out there and do another one.
Yeah.
I want to see if I can pedal it even harder. So I did a bit of a deal with the ANDRA guys earlier. I said, look, because they said, listen, if it blows the tyres off, you got to get off. And I said, I'll do that, right? Under one condition. They said, what's that? And I said that I can get back on it. Right. So I've kept it off the wall. Now, something weird happened in the braking area, which I experienced on the very first run that I did in that car.
Yeah, I remember.
Right?
You were saying that story. Yes.
It picked the back of the car up and got really out of control. This time, I had the foresight to let go of the brake lever and grab the steering wheel. So it was a bit of fun bouncing around there through the top end, but we got it done. We tore the splitter off, which is sad. So it's going to be interesting to see how it handles without the splitter.
Yeah.
Be a whole different ball game.
I saw bits of carbon fibre and crap flying everywhere.
Everywhere.
Went
Sparks. Everywhere. But, we like to put on a show.
Yeah, a bit of a show.
That's what we're all about.
Yeah.
Talking power.
There's a bit of a crowd. Decent. Not a big crowd here tonight, but there's a reasonable crowd.
So yeah, fingers crossed everyone will get their stuff done. We'll get to tow out and do a grudgy.
Yep.
Another solo.
Yep.
And we'll see if we can do better than a 780 and maybe even push over 209.
Yeah.
Maybe go 220, 230. See how we go. So I'll see you at the track.
We'll see you soon. Take care.
See ya.
All right, it's the completion of the evening. We've done 3 runs today, so we'll get Simon to give you a wrap up.
So, on the last run, because you already know about the other 2, on the last run, I didn't drive it properly. It's my fault. We put a tune-up in it that was, basically Brenton pulled all the power out, and
that's
it's him now. It's him now.
Thought he was going to throw up some rooster tails there.
Yeah, I thought I was a bit worried too. Basically the last run, he pulled a heap of power out early on in the run, and I could have gotten to wide open throttle a lot earlier than I did. So Nick's going to post up the data log from that last run, because it is hilarious really when you look at it. With a supercharged engine, if the butterflies aren't open, you're not going to make the boost. So it only had actually 1 second of wide open throttle. The rest of the time the throttle's at around about 20-25%. So, and the boost curve, shows that accordingly, because most of the run the boost's only at about 18 to 20 pounds. So anyway, we managed to go, I think it was 751. Yep. At 209. I'm still getting my head around the first 60 foot. We made some suspension changes, but we've got to go and really study that and work it out. I think maybe you just can't run that hard when the track's not there.
It was about 1.4. Was it 1.4 or 1.6 to the 60 foot?
1.4 on that last pass, but that car should go 0.9 if there's a good track. Now, I don't know whether we'll ever see a track like that, but there's plenty of other cars going 1.2. Yeah. So I would imagine with the power that we've got, we should be able to go 1.1. Harry's car went 1.1. Yeah. And that's a big, heavy car. Maybe weight's an advantage in this car. Anyway, so look, 751, 3rd pass on Radials, and we're in, I believe, the West Australian top 10 list, 3rd spot now. Yep. I believe so. So I'm pretty happy with that. What about yourself?
I'm extremely happy, and you should be proud of the work you've done, and the team as well over there. They're loading up. They're actually working while we're chatting and gas bagging here. But the team have done a magnificent job. There's a group of guys over there, and some of them have already gone home, but have really strung this together.
Try and talk into the microphone.
Have really strung this together and have done an absolutely magnificent job. So I'd like to thank all of those guys, because when they're working for, even crewing on the car, they're promoting our names on the side of the car. So I really appreciate all those things that those guys did for us over the last few weeks. So, and this guy as well, like a mammoth amount of work that he's done on the car. So I think you've done well. Also, I want to shout out to Ray Treasure as well for getting us involved here tonight as well, and getting me media credentials in here as well. And all the staff at the Motorplex have been really helpful, and also the Andrew staff as well. We had Andrew over here a couple of times tonight, just giving a bit of guidance, and not so much guidance, but a bit of direction and their thoughts on things. We really do appreciate things you do.
So the next meeting might be the Western Nationals warm-up. I think that's normally what they call it, which is usually the Wednesday before the Westerns. My biggest problem is that because we're not professionals, well, actually I speak for you in that sense. But anyway, everyone works day jobs, so I've got to try and round up a crew because I'm feeling a bit more confident. That last run, I'm sure that if I had got on it where I should have gotten on it, it probably would have gone to 660. So it's a bit of a shame. I feel like I let the team down, but look, we'll get there. I mean, I don't know that there's too many guys with a new combo that have come down here and gone as quick on Radials as we have. Yeah. And obviously, 209, 208 mile per hour, those two passes. I don't think there's anyone in WA that's gone near that in mile an hour. So it won't take us long to get the ET. I'd like to think that one day we can take the car out to Swan Hill, somewhere where they really pour a radial-friendly track, let's call it, and maybe have a crack at the world record, because I think the car's got it in it. So anyway, look, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you at the track.
We'll see you soon, everyone. And thanks to all the people that came down here tonight to say hello as well. There was a number of listeners that came down here tonight. You know who you are. We really appreciate your efforts in coming down here and coming in to say hello. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Hey, Anthony.
How you going, boy?
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on the podcast for us. Much appreciated.
No worries, mate.
Hey, let's just kick off, and I'm going to rattle off a few classes, and you tell me yay or nay if I've got this right or wrong. Top Fuel, Nitro Funny Car, Top Doorslammer, Top Alcohol, Super Sedan, Super Street. Have I missed
Double A Funny Car.
Oh, Double A
Yeah,
Funny
Double
Car.
A Funny Car.
So
Competition Eliminator.
My apologies. There you go. I did miss one.
Now, he's got me on Top Fuel and Nitro Funny Car, right? He's got me on Competition Eliminator, but he hasn't raced bikes yet.
That's what I wouldn't mind. I want to have a go on a Top Fuel Harley.
He's raining on my parade, Nick.
He is.
You know that's what all these blow-ups.
Yeah, no,
that's what all these blow-ups are about.
That's it, exactly. Getting used to it.
Hey, Anthony, we'll kick off with the elephant in the room. The big blow up at the Perth Motorplex a couple of weeks ago. In my opinion, it's actually not your biggest blow up. I think if I wind my memory back, 2013 at Western Sydney, I thought that was a lot scarier and a lot bigger.
Yeah, mate, definitely, Nick. It definitely was. 2013. This one here, it blew the top off of the car.
Yep.
And pretty much went out. You know, it's like there was no flames, there was no anything. It pretty much went bang, and then it was all over. You know, when I got out of the car pretty well straight away, and there was a little bit of flame around the header on the left-hand side, and that was about it. But definitely that one in Sydney was probably the biggest one I've had.
Yeah.
And it was, it pretty much blew up at half track, which I think at the half track markers, I think the car was doing about a bit over 250 mile an hour when it went bang. So, you know, all I tried to do there was get it stopped. I couldn't see anything from almost the point of it going bang. And, it was definitely a big one. And that was probably a lot more scarier as far as, you know, you knew you had to get the car stopped. I was in the flames, obviously, from that point.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was in the flames until I safely got the car stopped.
Yeah.
And got out of it. And I didn't, at one stage, I didn't even know how fast it was going due to the smoke and the flame. It was one of those things that your sense of how fast you're going or even where you're going was sort of all out the door at that point.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly, that was broadcast live over the internet, and I was watching it because only a few weeks earlier, you and I were racing each other, and I had that big top end, and I thought, Anthony, he's always got to outdo me, this bloke. He's always got to outdo me. But at the time, I've got to be honest with you, Anthony, I feared for your life, because it's one thing to be on fire. We wear all the protective gear. We've got the fire systems on board. But nitro at 250 miles an hour with all that air, that fire must have been incredibly hot. And I remember watching you get out of the funny car and run over to the fireys, and you were waving your hands in front of them. Obviously, the heat had come through the gloves. Just incredible for you to manage to pull it up and be so, you know, calm about the whole thing in that intense heat.
Yeah. Look, the thing with it is, and, you know, this is the thing about all these, you know, some people go, you know, think things like these blindfold tests and that. sometimes I think they're a waste of time. But, you know, definitely in situations like that where you know your car, it definitely helps, because it's right when you're blinded, your senses are gone. And all I could feel was, obviously, the more time I spent in the flames, the hotter my suit got, and to the point where, you know, when I got out of that car, it was almost unbearable. And when I was talking to people later, you know, when I was over in America on a race a few years ago, I was talking to the Simpson guy over there, and he was pretty much saying, you know, those suits will be good for probably 40 seconds in the flames, and I know I was in there for the best part of 30, so possibly even more, you know. But it's one of those things, you know, the adrenaline's there. It seems to kick in, and when it kicks in, I think it's like everything. Your mind, your body goes to another level. And I guess when it comes down to experience, the more experience you've got, the calmer you are, and and the better decisions you can make.
Yeah, certainly.
So, yeah.
No, it was, as I said, I thought that one was a lot scarier. This one here, I mean, we got some great photos of it. Well, Phil Lawyer did. He's obviously captured the moment and made the front of the West Australian over here, which is...
Yeah, I've got to stop you there, Nick. I've got to ask you guys, right? We the three of us are big drag racing fans, and over the years, Carcraft, Hot Rod Magazine, National Dragster, Australian Dragster, we've seen literally millions of photos. I'm going to put it to you guys, that is the best blow-up photo I've ever seen in my entire life. And for me, the quintessential part is the valve springs drifting off into the sunset. Would you guys agree with that statement?
I do, actually. I think, and I said it in our podcast last week, I think it'll be remembered as, that'll go around the world, that photo, for many, many years to come, especially with the internet these days.
Yeah. Well, look, I got I got sent a screenshot of a paper in Germany.
Yep.
That I had the 3 photos on it. I've got it on my phone now that I was absolutely amazed with. I can't understand the writing. It probably says something like, "Look at this idiot." I'm not really sure. You know, it could say anything, but I've got it there. So. And apparently that was a newspaper that somebody found in Germany.
Yeah.
And I'd spoken to some friends in America who drag raced in America that reckon, you know, for the best part of that week later, every time I went anywhere near a drag racing, it was site or it was they were going on about it. And you know, realistically, I haven't. I guess. We've seen some big blow-ups in America, and, you know, comparing them against those, I think they're probably the same. But I just think that the photo is what has done this and said it all.
Yeah.
Because you do get a lot of... there are a lot of blow-ups that are probably not dissimilar to this. You know, I think this shows... You know, in Australia, I don't think we've seen too many cars where physically bodies, especially nitro bodies, have blown off like that and been turned into Swiss cheese. But I think it's probably, possibly, we've been seeing it a lot in America, probably over the last 4 or 5 years. And I guess, you know, that car that we've got has got all the late model Schumacher 7 heads and probably got a bit more comp in it, you know, bigger blowers, bigger fuel pumps, and I guess that's, you know, when you start to get to that, you know, you start having blow-ups like they have in America.
Yeah.
Things are not quite right.
Yeah. No,
So-
I was going to pull you up a little bit earlier when you said you got out of the car. I think a better description was you got out of the chassis because there wasn't a lot left.
Mate, that's the easiest I've ever got out of a car. Mate, I didn't have to worry about too much. All I had to do was climb over the hand shield, which as I was getting out of the car, I noticed was pretty badly damaged.
So Anthony, let's talk about Nitro Funny Cars that have a tendency of not blowing up. The Outlaw Nitro Aeroflow deal. You're heavily involved in that, not just racing the cars, but your own car as well, and also driving the cross country and so on and so forth. It's really done a lot for drag racing. Do you see it becoming the replacement for the big show cars?
Look, I think it's a little bit different to the big show cars. They're almost a cross between a big show car and a top Doorslammer as such. As you see them go down the track 9 times out of 10. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong; they still have their blow-ups, and they still have their, they still have, accidents as such. And you know what? I think they can be as dramatic as some of these big show ones are. They're definitely still a handful to drive, and a lot of fun to drive. And realistically, I think the attraction of it is the reliability of them, and the backing. Graham Cowan has done a great job of making sure that this is the show. I guess he saw it as not only a racer and a competitor, a long-time racer and a long-time competitor, but also a fan of the sport. And he just wants to see it grow. He doesn't want to see it die, And unfortunately, as we've seen over the last lot of years, we've had a lot of fighting and a lot of different opinions and different people trying to pull different ways to their sport, which is just a real shame. And I guess this sort of shows to the point that if somebody's got a vision and is willing to put it all on the line for it, that people buy into it. And that's exactly what we've done. I love it. I love driving them. I just think they are an awesome thing. They're out of control. They're still quick. They're still really quick. I just love the body styles and all the different types of bodies and the ranges you can have. And long term, I see it something that before I retire from racing, I see myself and my kids all racing in the same meetings. And that excites me.
Well, speaking of your kids, your daughter Emma, she races in the same category as you in Let's Boogie. It's a Mustang from memory, Mach 1. Tell us a bit about how she's going in that.
Look, she obviously, we put her in the family car. Yeah. And we've had our fair share of issues with it. The car started off really well when I got in it. We seemed to have a bit of a handle on it, and then all of a sudden, like so often in drag racing, you can be on a great track 1 minute, then all of a sudden there's a gremlin somewhere that you just cannot find, and you can destroy a lot of money just trying to find this one problem. And we unfortunately, but fortunately for Emma, that she didn't get an easy, her whole way through the license with that car. She didn't get an easy run with it. The car dropped cylinders on one side and put her into the wall. She had fires inside the car. She had, you name it, she had it thrown at her. We had at times where silly things, like we couldn't get the car into reverse, and then, we couldn't get the clutch pedal right, and, we've had to push her into full stage, and, she's just sat there as cool as a cucumber, and we've said, look, we're going to push you into stage, it's a license pass, just drop that clutch and mash it. And she's done it. she's a funny kid. You know, she does exactly what she said, and I believe she's got not only being biased as being a father, but I'm pretty sure Graham and other people have seen it as well. That she's got a bit of talent to do it. She does all the right
things. She's definitely a chip off the old block, that's for sure, and she certainly has had her fair share of, what do they say, trial by fire? Is that the right term?
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? Much as you don't want your kids, your family, or anyone to have to go through some of those hard lessons, you know, we've all seen plenty of times over the years where people have got in cars, had cruisy runs. You know, they could go a season where a car just goes straight down the track, down the middle of the track, and they don't have to do a thing. But when they have that one problem and it catches them out, it's really taught them nothing. You know.
Yeah.
So sometimes I believe, you know, the best way to get familiar with a car and get better with a car is to have the problems. And it's not races in general. It's not what they want to do, but sometimes it's the best thing for them.
Yeah,
you know?
Certainly. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a couple of 570s at Perth in the last meet?
Yeah, she ran a couple of 570s. Yeah, she ran a couple of 570s, but what a lot of people don't know is in testing, she did a lot of testing in the car.
Yeah.
She had, you know, even though she'd had the experience with us, she had probably one of the best opportunities of all of us in this country that, you know, she got to drive and got to spend a lot of one-on-one time with Graham.
Yeah.
You know, and as I said to her, you know, sometimes you got to pinch yourself. You're a 20-year-old kid that has got Graham Cowan putting you in a car, looking after a car, tuning a car, putting you into stage, adjusting your idle. I said, you know, there's a lot of racers in this country and probably around the world that would dream for something like that. And he did spend, before she got in that car, he spent quite a bit of time with her, telling her, you know, going through and I guess probably teaching her how he wants her to drive the car, not how we'd taught her.
Yeah,
you know, we'd obviously given basics, but he wanted the car driven a particular way, and he expects his drivers to do things a certain way, you know, and that's something that has been hard for me with, you know, trying to get my head around it, but definitely a lot of the ways he does things from all those many years of experience have been a great learning curve for, you know, someone as old as me now. But look, as I said, as she got a lot of laps with him earlier in the piece, and I think her third pass out in that car, I think was a 567, and I think her fourth pass in the car, fifth pass in the car, I think she did a flat 560.
Oh wow!
200.
That's incredible. That is incredible.
Yeah, I think she did 262 mile an hour, which mile an hour is definitely getting up there as well, because at that point when she'd run the flat 560, the best I'd run in LA Hooker was 558, and I think I was about 6 or 7 mile an hour less than what she had done in that pass. So, you know, even though she was slightly slower than the ET, she was about 5 or 6 mile an hour quicker than what I'd ever been. I'd been driving the things for 5 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So, so she did do a lot of testing, and she has had a fair bit of time in the seat, and she's had, you know, a fair bit of. She's not only had the benefit of starting with me and Damien Harris spending time with her, going through when she first started licensing in Grooven, to Graham giving her a lot of time and a lot of education, and then she's had people like Rick Gorsey, she's had Shane Olive, and she's had Morris and the whole crew in the Aeroflow series, backing her, supporting her, and giving her, you know, whatever advice I can. So, you know, it was actually really good when she when she was doing her testing, everybody was there. Everybody who was in Sydney was there supporting and being a part.
So speaking of your children, what about Connor? Is he being groomed for anything in particular at the moment?
Well, yeah. Look, we've been modifying Emma's car.
Yep.
Grooving, we've painted it, given it a different paint scheme. We've modified it to get him in. Emma had a seat pull in the car because she was small, and we'd had all the pedals move forward. We've put Connor in the car, and it's a McKinney car where the cage is quite big and the seat's quite big.
Yeah.
We basically could leave all that alone. The only thing that we had to do with him is adjust the steering and the bar that goes over from the chassis rail to the chassis rail that hold the steering.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to modify the tin work. So Connor and I got a project of our own. We're going to Gazanats this weekend. We're taking the Monaro and we're going with Philly G. So
Philly G.
We're playing with that and playing with the old one-tonner. We've dragged out the old one-tonner, which you guys all remember.
We do. Oh, that was my next question, actually.
Yeah, well, the one-tonner's just had the motor put back in it, which is after 5 years, I think. 4 years since the motor's been in it, and I'll probably fire it up in the next couple of nights to go and possibly put it back on the street, maybe go down, do some stuff, at the go down the Motorplex, take it for a run here and there, take it to things like Gazanats, the West Coast Nats, things like that, and maybe the Power Cruise. And we've also for Connor got the old it's actually Eddie Rowe's old yellow one-tonner from the Ravenswood in the old days. It's actually the chassis with a different body on it. We've just had it had a roll cage in it, which we weren't 100% happy with, which we've cut it out and had Blackie put a decent cage in it.
Yep.
And we've been talking with our old mate Gonzo, Matty.
Yep.
Matty Whiteside, and it looks like we're going to put the combo out of his HR in this car.
Oh, look out.
Jeez,
we're putting radials on it big or what?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, except we're going to need it. Because I'll be... like I was with Emma, I'll be in the corner or over hiding behind the toilets making sure everything's all good. So the idea is to get that going. We'll go out and race it. We spoke to Matty that, we'll try and get it going. We'll try and get it set up, to hopefully run into the nines, maybe the mid nines, and, try and keep it safe.
Yeah. It sounds like
Biggs. That'll run into the nines with the blower belt off of it.
Yeah, I know, but we're going to take it easy. If we want it to be something that we can take it down, race it, possibly maybe at some point maybe try and dip it into the eights, but it'll be more a case of letting Connor have a drive.
Oh God, he's playing this down, Nick. He's playing this down. This is 7-second combo all day, every day.
Hey Anthony, you know what this sounds like? This actually sounds like you're putting the old band back together. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
It's very reminiscent of a movie.
He's probably got the Chevy Love stashed away somewhere too.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, if anybody knows where the old Chevy Love is, I'd love to get it back. That's one of those things that I'd love to get it back and put a chassis in it and a blow-on small block in it. So, that's one of those things for down the track. But, this will be a bit of fun, I think. And, for us who've, my family and my kids have sort of been dragged in, this was our grassroots, wasn't it, Gonzo, like the old days of...
Yeah, that's right.
Things like that.
That's where we started, when that photo was on the front page of the paper as people were rolling through the office, everyone would say, oh, wow, did you see this? And I thought to myself, I grew up racing this guy. Like, this guy is someone that we went through the Super Street, the Super Sedan. We dabbled in the comp super stock, all that kind of stuff. We did all of that together, and I've got many, many fond memories. And then watching you go into the Nitro ranks, I was proud of the fact that I'd been there through all the other stuff side by side doing laps with you, because, to me, the stuff that you've done, like, look, Zap's a mate of mine, and I think the stuff that he's done's amazing, but the depth that you've got in all the different classes and in the Nitro, because ultimately we used to talk about it when we were racing Super Street. Where do we want to end up? Driving a Nitro Funny Car. That's where you want to end up, So, it's been amazing watching it.
Yeah, look, and it's definitely been a good run. There's always things like I'd love to have a chance at winning an Australian Championship, and I guess we would all like to have something like that. Years ago, when we first bought out the funny car, if you remember that, Gonzo, back all that way, and don't worry, mate, I still haven't forgotten. I've still got your gearbox here that everybody Gonzo that sponsored me for the last getting close to 10 years for a gearbox, Lenko gear. A Lenko box and a clutch can, which I've still got possession of, but I know who owns it. So,
I think that you guys really had a good crack with that. But the thing is, both of us have got businesses, and you've been pretty lucky in being involved with the Baileys and being involved with Cowan, because that kind of allows you to still spend a bit of time at work rather than, trying to, when you were running the AA deal, you had the potential there, but then to take that on the road and do the rounds and have all the spares with you and everything else, it's just mammoth. But unfortunately, that's what you got to give up a year of your life to chase that championship. And it's kind of, if we're in America and we're all professionals, you'd do it because you'd have the sponsorship to do it. But to do it here and still run your business, it's a hard slog. And hats off to all the people that have managed to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It is definitely a hard slog, because I remember that year when we'd done all right at the Westerns here, and I think we went over east, and I think we went into the winters, and realistically, we just couldn't get a handle on the car with the track. We were trying to get our heads around how sticky the track was there, and we were struggling with wheel speed. By the time we'd finally started to get it sorted out, it was all too late. We come round to first round, and we'd ended up qualifying pretty bad, and I think we got the number 1 or the number 2 qualifier, who was the guy who was just behind us in the championship. And I just never forget, we pushed him that hard that he had no way of saving his index. And I just remember thinking, he's gone one up on us now. There's no way that we could win the championship by not going any further. And I remember pushing him that hard, but it knocked him out of contention as well, and allowed it for a couple of other guys to come through. So that was probably the closest we would have. But it's one of those things that I'd still like to have a crack at a championship. Maybe Top Fuel, not 100% sure. There are things that we're looking at and that sort of thing. But it's become a lot. When we first got in and had a crack at Top Fuel, our stuff, which was our older gear then, was we had the car, we had the thing just going down the track. It wasn't the quickest car, but back then, it was, we'd won races in that short period of time because we had the consistency.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to have a crack at Top Fuel, guys like Santo, the Lamatinas, Peter Ziveris and some of those guys, even though it's not a big group, it's a group that's put a lot of money into developing what they're doing. And, some of these passes they're doing are every bit as quick as what they're going in America. So
100%, Biggs.
And look, we're certainly, even after this blow-up, we're certainly not done with the funny car. There's things we want to do. We've had a guy, Adam, who actually ran in Rory's other car here. He's been testing in our spare car and getting gaining his license in our spare car, which was the silver one. And, we're at the moment looking at bodies. TJ has sort of come to us with a couple of options for bodies and that, because I asked him while he was over here earlier in the year before all this happened if he could keep an eye out for bodies. And so we've got people looking. So ultimately, the thing is, we'll probably try and get that car going, get the cars going again. If we had another body the other weekend, we would have been back out because we had all the stuff to fix that part of the body.
Yeah, okay.
So we definitely.
Geez, that's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah, but look, we've had some worse fires than that. There's one floating around YouTube, which is probably one of the funniest things you'll ever see if you ever had a chance to see it. It was when we had the purple body on the spare car after we toasted the car in Queensland. In Sydney. It was only probably it would have been that Christmas after that. So probably, I don't know, I can't remember where it was, probably 6 months later. We took the car to New Zealand, and I remember the second pass in New Zealand, we had a similar sort of thing where the car's exploded, the body's gone up, and then I've ended up in the grass on the side of the track at probably 230, 240 mile an hour. And that was it got my attention, but there was a video floating around of it, which was actually pretty cool because it actually looks from the camera, it looks like the body's exploded and looks like the whole car's jumped a metre off the ground and then come back down, and then all you can see is just these grass and these little yellow daisies just going everywhere, So it was pretty cool, but that was probably worse than this fire we had here. Yeah. And then the other one was when we were testing in America. When we were testing, we tested at Bakersfield just before we tried to qualify in Vegas and Pomona, I think in 2016. We'd had a big blow up there, and that was a huge blow up. And we weren't actually sure because all the NHRA officials were basically observing the pass to see if we were good enough to go and race the next weekend. And the car made the speed that they wanted to see. The only problem is I went through the finish line with no parachutes. The car was on fire. It had exploded, and my brand new suit that was like 3 hours old had burn marks all over it. And I remember going back to these NHRA officials and saying, listen, I guess we're done for next weekend, eh? And one of the officials was coming back up the road and coming back up the track, had a look at the track. And he said to the official, I said, oh, how was that? Yeah, I said, obviously that ain't going to get us in the field. And he goes, with that driving, he said, you didn't panic, you had the explosion, your chutes didn't open, you managed to pull the car up, turn the car around. And he said, oh, how many rods did you kick? And I said, oh, we kicked 3 rods. And he goes, and not a drop of oil on the track. We'll see you next weekend.
Oh.
So
common sense prevails.
Really good. No, we thought we were done, but the NHRA officials were really good and really and just said to us, you guys weren't quick enough. You had an explosion. You didn't panic. You got the car off the track safely. You had no chutes. So that's sometimes what we like to see in driving, but you don't actually get to see it. So the next weekend at Vegas was great, except we pulled the car apart that night and we had blocks going all over the place and heads going other places to get fixed, and we had to make new wiring harnesses because we'd completely toasted it. And I just remember rolling out in Vegas in this truck and trailer we'd hired. Everybody's rolling out their pristine race cars, we're rolling out this burnt-out heap of crap from the weekend before. Thanks for looking at it and just to say, are you guys for real?
I could just imagine John Force and Schumacher going, looks like the Aussies are in town.
Yeah, that's it. And the funny thing about what it was, the funny thing is it was you know, we rocked up on the Wednesday night and we had to qualify Friday afternoon. And we were rolling out and everybody was just shaking their heads and looking at us. And, you know, we'd had dramas with the car getting it through customs and that, and we still had to fit the double latch system and all that sort of thing. But all the crew hooked in and we had the car inspected Friday morning and we were out qualifying Friday afternoon. So, you know, it ended up being a big job, but, you know, it ended up being really good. And that car, you know, that car, which is the car that just blew up, ended up doing really well over there. I mean, it didn't qualify, but it was a tough field to qualify in, I think. You know, that Pomona one, I think we run in the low 20s, 420s, which was would have qualified us in just about every meeting. And then we went to Pomona the next one, and was the same thing. And, you know, we run a 14, a 414 there. The blower belt was off of it at about 800 foot. And,
wow.
And at the time, we were running the standard headers. Which,
not the laid back.
We weren't the laid back. And, you know, we had guys like John Collins and Tim Wilkerson and that were just really supportive of us and said, you know what, if you put the laid back headers on, you know, they're good for a tenth of a second. And we're going, really? Is that
Yeah,
true?
that's what they reckon, Biggs. That's what they reckon. I've heard that from...
Yeah, when we bought the car to Perth last year, we had the laid back headers on and we'd been told what to do. And, you know, the 330-foot passes that we had done last year definitely gave us the impression that it was going to be close to the tenth of a second that they were talking.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
when they started using those, that really, it just was incredible, the performance gain. You know, it was overnight the cars were quicker, you know?
Yeah.
It just shows you how much rust is coming out of those pipes when you're making 10,000 horsepower.
Yeah, definitely. You know, a tenth of a second just belaying 8 pipes back on a bit more of an angle is
it's huge.
is incredible. So,
incredible, absolutely incredible.
The thing with it is you know, we were told put the pipes on, put 40 pounds of weight over the front, and hang on. That was exactly what it was. You know what? You got to love the Americans because they tell it how it is. So, you know, it was pretty cool, and that's exactly what it is. You know, and we've had dramas with this car since, blower belts and things like that. We've had guys in America like Tim Wilkerson that's been really supportive and really helping us try and get through it. And, you know, it's we've really got a lot of unfinished business with this car because we really think that we can get the car going so it's quick enough to, you know, qualify in the top 14 in America. Mm-hmm. And if we can get it to that point, you know, we would like to take it back. You know, like take it back and leave it over there for a while and you know, go over there 2 or 3 meetings a year and just have a crack.
Yeah.
You know?
That'd be very cool, Biggs. I guess that's the dream of any drag racer.
Yeah, look, and it's the same thing, Gonzo. You know, you and I both know there's a lot of things that we've all done in life, and you know what? If you didn't have that dream and you didn't have the drive, you know, sometimes you'll make it happen no matter what. And, you know, if we want it bad enough, it'll happen, you know, and that's what I say to my kids, you know. I know Emma's got ideas of, you know, when she finishes uni, she's on her way to America to have a go, you know, and good on her.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
and that's really what you got to do. You got to just go, I'm going to have a crack at this, and you know, the Cinderella stories that you hear from guys like Crampton and that basically went there and said, I don't care if I just have to sweep the floor in the workshop. I just want to be near these things. And, he got his opportunity. He got his opportunity twice.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's it. And that's it. And knowing Emma, she's definitely got the gift of the gab. She can talk away into anything. So I'm not putting it past her. Last time I had a bet with her, it cost me her driving my one-tonner when she was 16 years old. So I'm not saying she can't do anything, because anything she'll put her mind to, she'll have a crack at.
Yeah.
She'll make it happen. So so it's good. It's a good life, and you do get these things like these blow-ups now and again, but we're having fun. And as I said, we're going to have this cracker going back to our grassroots a little bit with a blowing ute, and I'm looking forward to that as well.
That sounds awesome, Anthony. That really does. One thing I just want to chat about before we finish up, Anthony, is we talked about your depth of work in drag racing. I think it's important to note your depth of work outside of drag racing, and in particular, you work with the Variety Club. You sit on the chair for the Variety Club. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm the chairman or the chief barker of Variety. Yes, definitely.
You've been doing that for a considerable amount of time. I think at least 10 years.
Yeah.
Is that more than that?
Mate, I've been doing it since I was 22. So I've been involved in Variety since I was 22. A lot of these guys, the new and the old, and especially the old, have watched me grow up.
Yeah.
In Variety. But I have been sitting on the board for 8 years. So I've been sitting on the board of Variety for 8 years, and we've seen some tough times like we all do in business.
Yep.
And, now it was my turn to step up to the plate and make it count. So, now I've got the top job in Variety.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome, and I think that's a story that probably needs to be told as well. I think when we talk drag racing, a lot of people from the outside probably stereotype a lot of drag racers, but the work that you do outside of drag racing is phenomenal. And I know you've been part of the Variety Club for a long time, and a lot of work for charity. Just tell us a bit about. I know that the car rallies are some of the things you do. What are some of the other things you do there?
The Variety's got a lot of different arms to it, fundraising, and it does a lot of fundraising, which obviously the ultimate aim is to get money to give children. And what Variety is all about is granting children that really slip through the cracks. Things that there's wheelchairs and vehicles that are set up for wheelchairs and that sort of thing for families who really can't afford them. And there's a lot of there is seem to be a lot of money in disability. The government does put a lot of money in disability, but unfortunately there's a lot of kids that fall through the cracks. Yeah. And with Variety, our aim is to just try and make as many kids as we can, fulfil as many kids' dreams and make their lives and their families' lives easier. Yeah. And that's what Variety is all about. Yeah. As I said, as we've had a tough couple of years, we've stepped up. We've tried to get as much money as we can in an economy that's pretty tough. But we've had a couple of events that are failures over the last year or so. We were involved with the Christmas carols in town, and we lost a lot of money, not last Christmas, the Christmas before, as that we'd put up because it rained. It would rain at that time of the year, and there was a storm came through, and that was a lot of money that the board members and the member base in general for Variety was so gutted with, because we're all about giving money and giving kids, changing children's lives, where this is we just couldn't do it. We just lost their money. you know, and it was really gut-wrenching. And, you know, we're recovering from it now. It's a hard slog to recover, but, you know, everybody's putting in 110% to do it.
Yep.
But, you know, we do a lot of things. Obviously, our flagship event is the Bash, which is what us car enthusiasts love. You know, Jane and my wife were involved in starting the Car Cruise, which is a street machine, classic hot rod type event, which is a 4-day event, which is we go to different places in West Australia for 4 days.
Yep.
You know, we spent a lot of time. We take a crew with us of mechanics. We take officials. We take tilt trays. We take everything because we don't want to leave any vehicles on the side of the road.
Yeah.
As we know, it's hard enough for a lot of people that have got, you know, some of these vehicles that you love. You don't want to be leaving them on the side of the road if something happens.
Yeah,
so,
certainly.
You know, so a lot of those are our main fundraisers, and we do things like balls, and we do all sorts of events through Variety. But you know, we give a lot of kids money, and throughout the state we've got a couple of different regions. We've got up in the northwest or midwest, we've got Kelton, which they organise and get a lot of money in.
Yeah.
We've got Kelton as well, which is the same thing. And, you know, these guys get the money in, and then it's all about trying to spread it out through the community where we can.
Yep.
But, you know, we also run a lot of programs as well with Variety. You know, there's a lot of things that fall between the cracks. So, like, we have, like, motor mouth camps, which is something that helps a lot of kids that have got communication disabilities. You know, we have trained staff there that'll spend a weekend with the family, and we'll give them iPads and communication devices where they can type in, you know, whatever they want to say, and the kids will and it'll talk for them. So, you know, we do a lot of sort of thing as well through Variety. So there's a lot of those things that there's a lot of needs through the community that, you know, Variety does. And it's such a good thing. And as you could imagine, by the sounds of me, I'm pretty passionate about it. And we do spend a lot of work in it, my family and a lot of my friends, and a lot of drag races. You'd be surprised how many drag races have got behind it with us. And, you know, they spend their weekends, you know, raising money and getting it in and bringing it in. And, you know, it's just great.
Yeah, no, it's magnificent work you're doing there, and it's a credit to you and your family as well. I know you've been involved for a long time, and your family's been involved for a long time, and not just your parents, but also your immediate family as well, your wife and children. So it's a credit to you, Anthony. Hey, look, Anthony, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I've got one last question for you.
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
Is it true your first car was a Volvo?
Mate, I'm looking at it right now.
But you still got it.
Yeah, I've still got it. So
you're kidding, right? You still got it.
Mate, it's sitting down the back of Connor and I are actually sitting in my workshop at the moment, loading up the semi-trailer to go to Gazette. Well, he's loading it up, and I'm having fun talking on the phone. So,
when's the Volvo coming back out, Beggs? When's the Volvo coming back out?
You know what? I looked at it the other week and thought, I've got to get Club Rego on that, and if I can talk to my mate Sam Rhodes, who, poor old Sam, I'm just trying to line up car after car after car for him to paint, which I don't think he's really into it nowadays, because it's not the way to go of a panel beater, spray painter anymore business. No. They don't make any money, but, you know, if I could get Sam, I could keep Sam busy for the next 20 years, but I don't think poor old Sam will make any money out of me, unfortunately, because he's such a nice guy.
He's a lovely guy. This podcast has been a flashback, really. We've had some names: Matthew Whiteside, Philly G, Sam Rhodes. So some old names been rehashed in this pod. Yeah, Gonzo.
Yeah.
But you know,
No, none of the millennials will know who we're talking
No,
about.
that's what I'm going to say. This is.
You've missed Eddie Tassoni.
Yeah, Ed.
Well, you know what? Old Ed, he's a legend, old Ed. So,
George Saparovich, another one you missed.
Yeah, George.
That's it. There's plenty of
Alan Kirk.
Yep, that's it.
Or Captain Kirk, as he's known by many.
There's still a few that are running, you know. You got Al McClure that's still running down there.
Yes,
you
yeah.
know,
Yes.
There's still a few of the old crew, and, you know, as we know, Gonzo, that's our grassroots, and you'll never forget that. And I hope...
No, we all started off racing basically our street cars, and then our street cars, you know, progressed to the point where they weren't street cars anymore.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you
know,
end up with a Hemi eventually.
That's it, exactly. But sometimes you might keep your old stuff, like you and I've got, as I said, I've got my old Volvo there, and, you know, I'm looking at the one-tonner at the moment, which was, I remember picking that up with my dad from Melville Motors Holden in 1979. It was actually a milk truck.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, well, I still got the old beach buggy. I still got the old beach buggy, and I still got the XY, so I hear you.
We'll never get rid of them. Maybe one day we might be able to find a big factory unit we can all sit them in, and they can be a part of the old drag racing heritage maybe in 30 years' time.
It'd be a hell of a man shed, wouldn't it?
Oh, it certainly would. I mean, it's like our man shed here now. We look at it, there's all sorts of stuff in here. There's a couple of funny cars, a couple of one-tonners. There's Connor's got his Trans Am, which is in a million bits.
Yep.
But he's an apprentice diesel mechanic now, so this is a part of his life and learning and training. So
yep.
You know, it's a good thing. We wouldn't change it. We wouldn't change our life for anything.
Yeah.
So.
No.
Or our mates.
That's it.
Yeah.
Hey, Anthony, look, we'll let you go, and look, we really appreciate your time, and thanks for coming on, and it's great to hear that you're okay after the fire, and that it's business as usual at the Begley household. And when's the next Outlaw Nitro Funny Car, Aerofly Outlaw Nitro Funny Car?
I'm actually heading the weekend of the Western National, so I'm actually leaving Wednesday in the Prime Mover to take back to Queensland. So what I'm doing is I'm leaving there. I'm going to Swan Hill to race, and basically straight after Swan Hill, I'm leaving and heading to go to Queensland and the old Kenworth and race car trailer to drop it up there and then fly home. So so not
Swan Hill.
Yeah.
Swan Hill, the radial mecca.
Yep, I've never been there, but actually looking forward to it, and it'd be another one of those, I'm sure, great country events that we do with Aeroflow.
Begley, I heard that the VHT flows down the track at Swan Hill.
Beautiful. I heard that it's got 1,000 foot of concrete.
Mate, all I know is that Harry Haig with that big heavy HQ, he's gone 110 to 60 foot on 315s on 10-inch rims, right?
That's pretty stout.
That's pretty amazing when you look at it, you know. So I wouldn't mind doing a blast with the BA down there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Well, hopefully...
I'll tell you what, Beggs, maybe we should load it in your trailer.
It's ready to go.
Why not? Hey?
It's ready to go.
Well, that'd be the go. We can take it over there and we can leave it over there. Maybe do something in Queensland. Maybe do something in... I reckon I'd enjoy the road trip. Hey?
We'll have to have a chat about it later, Beggs.
No worries, buddy. Anytime. You know I owe you, Gonzo, with all the years of help.
All right, Anthony, we'll let you get back to helping Connor and loading up those cars, and we really appreciate your time on the podcast tonight.
Mate, thanks for the walk down memory lane. It was a blast.
No worries.
It's always good. Thanks, guys.
Take care, Anthony. All the best. See ya. Bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
See you, mate.
Hey, Simon, just quickly, now that we finished up with Anthony, just quickly, let's have a quick chat about Lights Out 10. I was 2/100ths off my prediction. I felt that the 50s, were a sure thing at Lights Out 10. There wasn't to be. It was a 61.
359, Nick. 359. You made your point that you saw it happening, and I've been saying for a long time that, yes, there is a little bit of room there for performance improvement, but it's all going to come down to track conditions and ambient conditions. I feel that they had near perfect conditions there.
They did, yeah.
But there's a lot of talk that the next meeting, which is not too far away,
1 month,
we're probably definitely going to see a 50.
Yeah, no, I think it's a foregone conclusion, to be honest. Look, hats off, Alex Laughlin. We poked a little bit of fun at him about a year or so ago about his Street Outlaws foray, but he delivered the goods. It was a 004 light in the final against Daniel Farris, who did an 015 light as well, and Alex got the whole shot on him. Amazing final. It was really, these cars are really off the planet. And the number one qualifier went out in the semi on a red light, 006 red light. So that was a tough gig for him.
It shows you how much hook is in the track if you go on red.
Yeah.
On a pro tree.
Yeah.
Because we work on the assumption that there's about 3/10 in the car, in the rollout. And you can see that, actually, if you look at our data log, you can see that I lift at about 7.8 seconds into the run.
Yeah.
And you're going, well, hang on a minute, it was a 750 run. Well, that's because there's about 3/10 in the rollout. So I guess if the track's really hooky and you go on 0.9 to 60, you run the risk of going red.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, no, certainly.
But, hey, look, hats off to him. His job is a driver, obviously.
Yeah.
That's what he does. And he certainly earned his money that night.
Yeah.
$50,000?
50,000, yeah, 50,000 for Lights Out 10, yeah. Yeah, 100,000 in the next month for Sweet 16. The one thing I forgot to mention, Daniel Farris, crewman on that team, Grant O'Rourke, West Australian, proud West Australian, was crewing for Daniel Farris. They went all the way to the final as well and just come up ever so short. So great to see Grant there and a lot of the footage.
Now, was that the E-Canoe Lexus?
No, Daniel does have that car, but he wasn't using that car in Radial versus the World. He was using, it was a blue Mustang. He had the PLR 548 in the Mustang. So that's what he chose to use there. Some outstanding performances. Stevie Fast come up against Bossman, Jeff Sitton in the second round and beat the Boss in that case, and then come up against number 2 qualifier in round 3, Timmy Slavens, and fell short there. Timmy was looking pretty good as well. He was the number 2 qualifier, so it was pretty stout all weekend. Amazing performances. I know we didn't see anyone dip into the 5s, but these guys are regularly, a lot of guys running 60s the whole way through eliminations. No problem at all. So
and I think the qualifying, the top 8 were all in the 60s.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So look, it was an amazing event from the Duck. I actually sent him a photo, to be honest, of the BA with a Cheeto sticker on there. I haven't heard back from him yet, but I'm curious to know what he thinks of our Cheetos radial car. So no, that's pretty cool. So I just wanted to touch off on that because I know unfortunately it was at the same time as we were racing on the weekend, but I caught up with it all last night because I still have a lot of interest for that event. And as it would turn out, as soon as the event finished, they had a massive storm come through, so it worked out well for them. The other guy I forgot to mention, Wade Wagstaff from Australia. He qualified, didn't make it past the first round, lost on a 382. 80s, unfortunately, just are not going to win your races anymore.
And that's the Commodore.
No, Wade has a 57 Chev, the orange one. Jet Martin has the Commodore. He didn't go. He didn't attend. He didn't go over.
He didn't go, right?
No.
Okay.
So, yeah. Wade Wagstaff has a 57, orange 57 Chev. He hails from Brisbane. But, yeah, as I said, 80s aren't going to get you a win. It's interesting, not much tyre smoking or a lot of guys got out of the groove. You either ran... most of the cars got down the track. So, it was really good to see. Really good to see. Good event. Hats off. All right, Simon. Look, we'll finish off this podcast here. So I'm off to Race Wars for the next podcast. You'll be at the Western Nationals, so we'll have to try and do something while we're there. And but I'll see you beforehand, no doubt. And any parting messages to anyone out there before you head off to Western Nationals?
Oh, just well, I haven't entered yet.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Sorry, I may have jumped the gun.
I'm still umming and ahhing. Yeah, I'm still umming and ahhing about it. Mainly because I'm so tired.
Well, there's no radials. You understand? There's no radial race at the Western Nationals either.
No, if we run the car, we'll probably run it in Top Sportsman.
Yeah.
And more than anything, just to see how the new system that we're going to trial works, whether that will allow us enough control to get the car going. Unfortunately, the track, not that there was anything wrong with the track, it's just prepared differently for a radial car as opposed to a slick. And as such, it's impossible for us to put down the power that we've got. We were actually leaving with 0 degrees of timing, and it still blew the tyres off. So, you've got nowhere to go after 0. If you start going negative timing, you're probably going to put the panels out of the supercharger. So the way I ended up driving it, I want to try and simulate that mechanically. When we first built the car, we had an air throttle on the car. Unfortunately, I've loaned it to someone, and I'm not sure who, and I haven't seen it again. We've had some great, generous offers. Mark Rothwell, offered up the system that came with the Nova. I've also had Dave and Tracy DeJager, Nitrous Nano Racing, offer us up some stuff. I'm actually trying to build my own.
Okay.
Ken Lowe is sending over some bits and pieces, and I'm going to try and machine some stuff up. I'd like to buy the Biondo one, but by the time we got it here, and with the way the Aussie dollar is at the moment, it's I'm pretty broke. This whole month has cost me a fair bit to get that car together. But we'll have a crack, because at the end of the day, the track's going to be no different at the last meeting where they do run the radial round.
Yeah, that's right.
So if we can get it to go down a hot slidey or greasy sort of day track at the Westerns in qualifying, then we should be able to put some numbers down at the last meeting and have a good crack to get the car into the 6s. I think it's a bit unrealistic for us to expect that it's going to run 5s.
Yeah.
Not because it can't do it. I'm sure that we've got enough power to do it. It's just a matter of trying to, do that. And that's why I wasn't joking when I said about going to Swan Hill, because those guys, that's a radial-friendly track. They don't mind putting the glue down. And like I said, if you can get a big heavy HQ to go 1-1, then you really got the potential there to go dip into the 1.0s with something like the BA, and that should, put you in contention for a 5-second pass. But we'll see how we go. At the end of the day, I think considering everything, I'm really happy. And what I'm most thankful is that the crew, in particular Brenton Baxter, Gavin Elms, and Scotty Bryson, Emiliano,
Trev.
Yeah, Trev. They just pushed on. They really pushed on, and they weren't taking no for an answer. I'd thrown in the towel. The car had broken me. I was fatigued. My hands were all swollen from all the cuts and burnt from the hot transmission fluid. I just wanted to go home and spend some time with my family and, basically with my wounds. Those guys pushed on. Big shout out to John Zapier and Stephen Del Caro. Basically told Brenton, take whatever you need out of the truck.
Yeah.
So they jury rigged some fittings up so we could sort the leak from the faulty fitting that we had and get back out there. And look, it wasn't the 6-second runs that I'd envisaged we'd be able to do. And I reckon 100%, the data log's there. Thanks for posting that up, Nick.
No problem.
It's a champion move by yourself. But, it was poor driving on that last run. I think because the first run, none of the electronics did they did what they were meant to do, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, the decision to turn them off, and I got A to B, even though I had about 5 or 6 stabs at the throttle. What unsettled me was what the car did through the braking area when it felt like I was a rag doll in an Alsatian's mouth, the way I got thrown around.
Yeah.
And I got out of the car thinking, well, the new wing's obviously not working.
Yeah.
And in amongst all of that happening, the car, getting thrown around by the parachutes, there was an almighty bang. There was some banging and clanging under the car, and the splitter had been torn clean off the car.
Yeah.
Now, after reviewing all the data and having a bit of a think about it, I think that I actually gave the car too much downforce.
Yeah.
And that, because it had so much downforce at the front, that probably unsettled the rear of the car, and the chutes, then had the opportunity to lift the car off the ground. So on that last run, I think it was a little bit tentative because I was thinking, I wonder what this thing's going to do when I open it. Thankfully, it did nothing.
Yeah.
It was as boring as it just went gun barrel down the track. So I probably could have got on the gas at around the 2.5 second mark, 2.5 to 4, around there somewhere, and that would have been like a 660, 650 sort of run, probably a 220, 230, somewhere around there. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
The car's in one piece.
Yeah.
We kept it off the wall. We got a lot more understanding, and I'll tell you what, a lot more respect for the radial racers, not just over in the US, but at our track here in particular, because, you're not at a radial track. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're at a regular track running a radial tyre. And I kid you not, it felt like I had 26-inch bicycle tyres on the back of that thing.
Yeah.
It was, a lot of respect to those guys that have managed to get their cars into the 7s on 275s, because I know what it took for us to do it with a 315. So, hey, we've got some data now. We've got a rough idea where we've got to go. Big shout out to all the sponsors, Shift Kits Australia. Yeah. Jamie worked tirelessly to help me through those bits and pieces. Stewie Bond from WA Suspensions. Every 5 minutes I was on the phone to him, chasing a different spring rate, or Charlie and Sandra and the boys at SCM, and Brad Penn oil, which we swear by that oil for not just the engine, for the transmission as well, and yourself, Talk and Power, and all the crew, all the hours that went in over the last month to turn that car basically from, not just from a Doorslammer, but from, a frame. I don't know if you finished editing the stop motion, but, we went through putting that car together from a frame to get it over scrutineering, then stripping it down, tweaking it to suit the radial class, because obviously the tyres are a lot smaller, so the suspension needs to be in a completely different spot. Unless you were there, you really can't appreciate how close to the wire we took it. We were making a new yoke for the tail shaft at around 10:30 at night, and fitting universal joints to the tail shaft at around about 2 in the morning, we were squaring and scaling the car, and we were loading it in the back of the truck at 4:30.
I don't know if we're
the
supposed to
stickers
say
were going
that.
on.
I don't know if we're supposed to say that. It's probably not appropriate, but yeah, that is no word of a lie. That car was going on the trailer at 4:30. I'm not in the back of the truck.
4:30.
Yeah, that is
4:30 in the morning. Nick and Asher were sticking the stickers on. If you have a look, if you get a chance to have a look, one side's straight, the driver's side is straight, and the passenger side is on an angle because everyone was just so tired. And I hadn't finished loading the truck. I just said to everyone, we need to go home. I need to at least get a couple hours sleep. So, but, I'll be honest with you, Nick. My biggest fear after the oil leak, because it didn't feel right as it was going down the track because the electronics were doing some strange things. But when the oil got under the tyre and it got sideways, and it was only a tiny bit of oil, it made me sort of think, you really shouldn't be driving this car when you're this tired and you can't think clearly. Yeah. So I went in the truck and had a lay down. I didn't have a sleep, but I just had a lay down and a de-stress session and spent a little bit of time texting my wife and gathered my thoughts up. And on the next run, I felt a little bit, more comfortable. Yeah. And then when the chutes opened and it threw me around, I wasn't really too phased. I thought to myself, I've been here before. Yeah. I've been, with no chutes at over 200 mile an hour. I've been sideways 90 degrees to the wall at 160 mile an hour. So I think I can gather this up and keep it off the wall. I was more concerned about what I'd damaged. And the bottom line, once the splitter was gone, Gavin Elb's got the scissors out, trimmed off what was left, and I said, you know what, maybe we've made too much downforce, let's just run it. And I'm glad that we went back out. I'm glad that I got those 3 runs in. Yeah, definitely. I feel a lot more comfortable in the car. And I figure if I can do all of that with no sleep, then, the next meeting, if we're more prepared, we have the car loaded the day before, get a good night's sleep, head down there fresh, we should be able to move forward and kick another goal with it. Yeah. The 200 mile an hour, 208, 209 mile an hour, I think it's sort of, showing us what we can potentially do. Now we just need to get the first half of the track sorted. So we'll get there. Yeah. We'll get there.
Yeah. All right, Simon, look, we'll wind this one up, and thanks for your time, for coming on tonight. I know we had to do this one by phone, but we're all, I know you are, I'm still a little bit tired myself, so we've done this one remotely, so appreciate you coming on, and a big thanks to Anthony Begley and his family as well for coming on as well. All right, Simon, well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
You will. All right, Nick, all right, take it easy, and I'll see you at the track.
See you, Simon. Take care.
Talk and Power stresses all characters and events on this podcast, even those based on real people, are entirely fictional. All celebrity voices are impersonated poorly. We do not encourage street racing or the use of turbochargers.